I'm going to go through the typical tests that are ordered for lupus, as well as whether intermittent fasting is beneficial. I'm Erica Saucedo. I'm a board-certified medical doctor. I'm 50 years old. One of the labs that your doctor may order if they're concerned about lupus is called an anti-nuclear antibody, or an ANA. It is a sign of inflammation. It's actually your body attacking its cell's nucleus, but it actually is not specific for lupus, but it is a sign of inflammation. Another one they'll check is anti-double-stranded DNA antibodies. Those actually are quite specific for lupus, so if you're positive for that, that typically is a sign that you do have Another lupus. One is an anti-Smith antibody. That one is specific for lupus, but not all lupus patients have this. Anti-Rho and anti-LA, which on your lab test may look like SSA and SSB, those are common for inflammatory diseases, but not specific for lupus. Like another one that typically you'll see that in is something called Sjogren's, which is an autoimmune disease that attacks the lacrimal gland, so you get dry eyes, as well as the salivary gland, so you get dry mouth. C3, C4 are complement levels, and those are actually low when your lupus is flared up, because you can think of it like it eats up those complements, and so it's counterintuitive. The C3, C4 goes down when your lupus is active or high. ESR and CRP are almost always done. Those are signs of inflammation, but they are not specific for lupus. A CBC is just a complete blood count. They're going to check that because that's going to check your white blood cells, your red blood cells, and your platelets. So that'll show things like anemia, thrombocytopenia, or even leukopenia, where the white blood cells are low. This can be not necessarily just with lupus, but complications that can happen with lupus. They'll also check a urinalysis. They're just basically checking that your kidneys are functioning well. If you're peeing out too much protein, which is called proteinuria, that can be a sign, obviously, that kidneys are affected in lupus. Also hematuria, which is just blood in the urine, also again a sign that the kidneys are affected. Also check your kidney function with serum BUN and creatinine. That just basically shows if your kidneys are functioning well. You may check an antiphospholipid antibody panel, which can be associated with antiphospholipid syndrome, which can be associated with lupus. The question is whether fasting is beneficial for patients with lupus. If you look up studies, it is a little bit mixed, but overall it does seem like fasting is beneficial for autoimmune diseases in general. We don't really know the mechanism of action, but we know that when you fast, you decrease your fat cells, and fat cells typically will produce a hormone called leptin. Leptin is important because it signals to the brain that we have enough energy. So you think about it, the more fat we have, right, the more leptin is produced, then the more signal to the brain that we have energy. There is something called leptin resistance, where we have so much leptin being produced because we have so much fat that the brain no longer listens to it and doesn't know that we have energy. What's interesting is that leptin is actually related to inflammation. So the more leptin we have, the more inflammation we have. Seeing you lower your leptin, you lower your inflammation. It also lowers what's called the regulatory T cells, which are important for our peripheral immune response. So all of this has been shown to be beneficial in patients with lupus or autoimmune diseases in general. I just want to let you know that there were some animal studies that showed that animals that were having lupus flare-ups that affected their kidneys, the fasting sometimes could exacerbate the kidney issues, so something to be aware of. Anyway, just wanted you guys to know all this interesting information. I hope it was helpful, and love, light, and abundance. Bye.